Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi and it's that time again. The 2025 new player experience decks have just been replaced by the new 2026 foundations based starter decks. And this actually occurred several months before rotational expectations. And whether you are a brand new player who is very dependent upon these decks, or you're an old standard around Arena like myself, understanding the basis of these decks is going to ground everything else that you do in Arena moving forward. But before we get into all that, take just a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, because that kind of thing really keeps this boat moving. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. All right, start things off. First things first, you are going to see a lot of, and I mean this sincerely, well-meaning content creators showing you the easy ways to spend your resources to upgrade these decks. But believe me when I tell you, this is not the way. Because ultimately, you are going to outgrow these decks in as little as 2 to 4 weeks if you're following the plan. And you're just going to have better options and better ways to gather additional resources. So don't burn the easy resources at the beginning by making and upgrading decks that you are ultimately going to outgrow. So instead, let's break down these decks in context of where you're starting, because let's be honest, there's no reason to spend resources to make a deck that is ultimately not as good as where you started. When I'm doing evaluations, I like to use what I lovingly refer to as the Eastwood rating system, breaking your choices down into 3 easy categories: the good, the bad, and the ugly. In order for a choice to get a rating of good, it's got to be above the moving average of all of the available choices. The bad, however, is actually still generally a playable option, so to speak, being within 1 standard deviation mathematically of having been a good choice. The ugly, however, is everything else that is left. It's not good. It's not even bad. These are the ugly choices that generally aren't even worth our time. Now, traditionally, I like to start these evaluations talking about those ugly decks and working our way up from the bottom, so to speak. And boy, do we have one super ugly deck. That is the blue-red Is It Wondrous Wizardry. Boys and girls, this deck is bad. Is It very often suffers from balance issues with Arena teams' deck designs, where you're trying to balance your payoff cards versus your enabler cards. And this is no exception whatsoever. Some of the worst balancing I've seen on this. And honestly, it took me 6 games against the Sparky Challenge just to unlock this deck. And as a player of 30 years, that's ridiculous. Almost every other deck I unlocked in 1 game, because they should be designed to be easy to play, and this one just isn't. This is the only time I'm going to say this in this video, but just go ahead and delete this deck list. It is not good for anything. Even if you get a blue-red daily challenge, you are going to have better options to complete that than this deck. And of course, through the magic of statistical analysis, we do in fact have 2 additional ugly decks, but thankfully they are not quite as ugly as the Is It deck. This being the Dimir Blue-Black Graveyard Gifts and the Black-Green Golgari Morbid Machinations. While these do not suffer from quite the same degree of balancing issues as the Is It deck, they do have some problems within their balance and synergies. Their power cards are just not quite powerful enough, or in some cases, they're just win more, and you end up with the wrong cards in your hand at the wrong time. Ultimately, I don't think either of these decks are really worth saving, although both do contain some good cards that we will put to good use in other places. So that, of course, puts the bottom layer on our tier list. The overall function here is we don't want to build or use resources on decks that are not as good or far be it worse than these three decks. And now let's move to the good and put the other capstone on this conversation and set the upper boundary as well. As we begin to talk about the truly good starter decks, just like with the ugly decks, there is one clear standout. That, of course, is Vampire Hunger. Its nearly mono-white life gain matters concept is not only a strong backbone for this deck, but it will allow you to bridge into formats like Alchemy, older Eternal formats, as well as a Brawl or Standard Brawl deck with ease. And a lot of this deck's strength and versatility comes from its signature legendary creature, Elinda, Saint of Dusk. Of course, its lifelink ability fits very, very nicely, a 4/4 body for 4 mana, and its protective hexproof from instants makes it very difficult to kill. The fact that this card gets stronger the more life you gain makes it a natural for either a commander in Brawl or Standard Brawl. This is a great place to start in those formats, and definitely look into it. Once again, synergy will tend to define the remaining decks in the good category, this time in a more positive manner. The Selesnya white-green cat attack, of course, is all about cat tribal, and blue-white Azorius's arcane aerialists, flyers, blue-white skies archetype. Both of these tend to reach beyond the decks themselves, make it easy to incorporate not only their internal synergy, but additional cards from your starter collection and beyond very, very easily. And just like that, fitting in these three decks into the good position, we've completed 60% of the tier list, with Vampire Hunger being the very best deck and Wondrous Wizardry bringing up the rear. Of course, if you've been paying attention, the last 4 decks that are going to fill in that middle tier, aka the bad but still playable, are going to be Learn from the Land, Might of Legion, Path of Power, and Reckless Raid. Now, what order these go in really has more to do with your personal play style and preferences than anything I could really point to and talk about with the deck or the card specifics. And in fact, really the range between the number 2 deck of Cat Attack and the number 9 deck, Morbid Machinations, is really much tighter this year than any other year that we've seen before. So really, there's very few bad choices. And yes, Wondrous Wizardry is the one bad choice. Just don't do it to yourselves. Go ahead, unlock the deck, and you're going to use those cards for other things. But as far as all the other decks, they're all pretty decently playable. Graveyard Gifts, Morbid Machinations are going to have a hard time hitting that 50% mark, whereas your Vampiric Hunter, Cat Attack, and Arcane Aerialist are easily going to fall into that 55% win rate and higher. And Learn from the Land with Simic, the Boros Might of Legion, the Gruul Path of Power, and Rakdos Reckless Raid, say that 3 times fast, are all probably going to hover in that 50% range. All of those decks should perform fairly well, but you're going to have a hard time breaking them out above that 55% range without making potentially mistake investments in the decks. So please do so cautiously. All right, now that you got that under your belt, just a couple more quick things. If you're looking for those types of things you can do with your existing starter collection, just head over to my EtherHub decks and search the phrase Day 1. That's D-A-Y and the number 1. And that's going to show you all the decks that I built for the current year or current budget year that only use cards from your starter collection. And once your collection has grown a little bit and you're ready to grow beyond that, just search my YouTube channel for the phrase Budget Deck Tier List. And that's going to bring you to my latest version of all the budget decks that are worth building and those that are probably better off ignored. And hey, before you go, we've got one more thing for those new players to help you get started. That's right, we're going to give away an entire account. I started this account back in 2024 to simulate new player experience, etc., etc. And now it has grown beyond my needs, so I'm going to give it to you, or maybe you, or maybe you. The way you enter, head over to my Patreon and register as either a supporting or free member, and look for the giveaway post. And on that post, make a comment with a suggestion that you have for the channel, or a comment that you have about the channel or the content that we make. I want to hear what you think. And hey, if you want to tell me why I should give it to you, by all means, feel free to do so. We will be giving away the account and selecting one of those comments shortly after the Tarkir Quick Draft season, the first weekend, closes. So hurry on along and make sure you get entered. Oh, and here's a little preview of what the account has as of today, and subject to change as we continue to farm the account. And of course, I want to take this opportunity to thank my supporting patrons, because being a small content creator comes with big bills. And I just couldn't do everything that I do without their monthly support. Thanks, guys. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in your arena experience, we have a few suggestions for what you could watch next.